This is Ducati's redesigned Hypermotard SP950, and it quite possibly is the best place for the 950L twin to live. Ladies and gentlemen, Matty Motorcycle talking about the Hyper. Ducati claims that this is almost completely redesigned with no parts that'll go and fit on the last 939 model. So let's go over some stats first. We have a 937cc L twin putting out 114 horsepower, 71 foot-pounds of torque, and it weighs 437 pounds wet. That's with all the coolant and gas that you're gonna need to get anywhere you gotta go. And now it is a supermoto style bike, and this one from Ducati will run you $17,000. Sounds like a deal to me. Let's move on to some of the special parts. First thing you have to talk about whenever you got a Hyper in the room is the styling. It is a dirt bike with way too much horsepower. It's lightweight, it's flickable, it does all the things that you want it to do, plus it looks cool. You got this really fantastic headlight up in the front. Ducati, I love how you have those dual LEDs coming up the side of it. The rest of this bike just looks sharp, it's real attention grabbing, and you always get looks when you're on it. Now, anytime you buy a Ducati, there's a couple of boxes you gotta tick. So let's check out all the big ticket items on this. First and foremost, anytime you got a SP, you get this great red, white, and black paint job and whatever color combination we got going on that particular year. Carbon fiber little bits everywhere, case covers, front fender. Then you get these forged aluminum lightweight wheels. From Marchesini, you get a full Olin suspension, front and rear, totally adjustable. I definitely did some work tightening up the front. Those long travel suspensions, you get an extra 3 inches from a race suspension on this particular bike. And I couldn't figure out what that was for right away. Turns out, it's for soaking up potholes and bumps. This thing rides smooth on any kind of bumpy road. Excuse me. And then, when you're trying to push it into a corner, just push it through that first 3 inches of travel, trail into that corner, and you have this amazing plush and reactive suspension for when you're ripping it through corners. Then, next box, Brembo brakes. Gotta have them on a Ducati, and of course this one has the M4s that are the same ones on their V2 and also on the Scrambler. Awesome idea. Thanks, Ducati. Spread them around. We love them. Then you get top spec electronics on the new bike. You get the dashboard right off of a V4. You can see all the information. It's super user friendly. Flick a switch up and down and you can go through all the rider modes, sport, touring, and rain. It's really great. You gotta love having all those bells and whistles really accessible. Traction control, wheelie control, you get a quick shifter up and an auto blipper down, so you never have to use that clutch once you let it go to get the bike rolling. And now this bike specifically has a couple of extra bell and whistles. We have an Austin Racing exhaust, we have frame sliders, you have an Olin's steering damper, which let me tell you, the bike doesn't come with one, and it is one of the first things you're gonna need to do, because sometimes the front end of this bike can get a little bit wiggly, even if you're not a wheelie guy, which I am not. But I do love a great handling machine, and it is kind of a little bit fun when maybe the front wheel doesn't 12 o'clock on you, but it does float a little in the front. Just makes you giggle. Because you're like, whoa, am I doing it? I'm doing it, I'm so cool. This bike definitely makes you feel cooler than you are. And also, you got these really great bar ends. This is a customer's bike, so it's going to its new home soon enough. A couple of little upgrades to make it just that much nicer. Then, I just want to point out with the electronics, the ABS system. Now, when you're riding and you're flicking it through corners, the ABS is super reactive. It never lets you let the back end slip out or get loose. Makes you feel really confident in corners. But thanks to the new Euro 5 regulations, you can't turn it off. And when you have ABS on a bike like this, specifically the rear brake, you can't lock it up, you can't slide it, you can't drift around corners, and you can't make that cool smoke show as you're pulling up to your friends in parking lots. Whatever. I would make sure that could get turned off, but thank you, Europe. You ruined it for all of us. Moving along. Now, the first thing you're gonna notice about this bike when you get on it is how tiny it is. Now let's go on to the riding impressions. It's skinny, it's lightweight, it's a big high up seat. The reach to the ground is really long. I'm 6 feet tall, I got a 34-inch inseam, and I am still on my toes. You gotta sag a cheek to be flat-footed on this thing. And initially, when you first get on it, when I picked this up from Gold Coast Motorsports in New Hyde Park, thank you guys for letting me have it, I will admit, I was like, what am I on? I rode dirt minimally. Here's a picture. But I'm not a dirt guy. I just kind of do it fun, hit some trails and try to mess around with my friends when we can't go to the racetrack. But let me tell you, you get used to this thing quick. And once you do, you become family. It handles amazing. It flicks in and out of corners. This long seat, you can kind of put your butt wherever you want it to. So if you're sitting stuck in traffic, scooch up, very comfortable upright position. And then when it's time to get dirty in those twisty roads, scoot your butt back, and the way it has you set up, very, very aggressive. The handlebars are nice and wide, you have a ton of leverage, and you can turn this bike in two different ways. You can either stay totally upright and kind of press it down like a proper supermoto or dirt bike, or you can get your head and chest down, really hang off the side. And I didn't do it on the street, but I could see taking this to a racetrack and dragging your knee all day. The way that this thing handles is really something special, brilliantly put together. Now, a lot of guys say that this is the ultimate hooligan bike. I'm a hooligan, it goes up, front wheel comes up, back wheel comes up, it's super fun. Obviously, you can do that. But if you're a gentleman rider, I kind of walk the line. But say you just love to hit those B roads with your boys on a Sunday morning, this thing is very well behaved. It does exactly what you want it to do. The ride quality is fantastic. And let me tell you, give you all the confidence in the world while you're flicking it back and forth. Let's move along. I want to go over how special this 950 engine is. First off, it's really not a 950, it's exactly 937 cc's. And we all know that Euro 5 compliant means hidden horsepower. Once you take the cat off, which this customer definitely did, we got that Austin Racing exhaust on. It's supposed to have 114 horsepower. This bike hasn't been dynoed yet, but I bet it's just that little bit more. I'd love to see 125 out of this thing. This is definitely the best place for the 950 engine to live. It's super high revving. It loves to be ripped up. And now for a V-twin, that's really not a common thing. Usually the torque is available way down low. This, you can get all that torque at 9,000 RPMs. And let me tell you, 8,000 RPMs is this bike's happy place. You get almost, which is 80 to 90% of the full amount of horsepower and torque after $5,000, but boy, you rev that to 8,000 and it just sings. And it's not twitchy, it's not unhappy. Now, at low revs and in traffic, it does hop around a little bit. It definitely bounces back and forth, but that's not the end of the world because you're in this really comfortable position. And boy, you are definitely rewarded with an amazing sound. Let's listen. Let's do this. And when you actually roll off and get right back into those corners, you have all the engine braking you would want. Between the engine braking and your finger, this thing stops on a dime. And it also makes riding so fun. You have zero wind protection, skinny little bike underneath you. It flicks, it moves around, you can manhandle it. No matter how strong or weak you are, this thing is cake to be on top of. You can sum up this bike in 3 words. Fun, fun, fun. I love being on it. I love the attention I get. I love the sound it makes. It says everything Ducati. It's simple, yet very, very refined. Folks, Matty Motorcycle here. Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe to my channel, like these videos, leave me a comment. If you own one of these, just tell me why you love it, because I can't imagine anybody who couldn't get along with this machine. We'll see you next time.